I talked about Luckyminers Pool and how I kind of came into it on last week's stream. I'm not going to go through that all again, but I did want to review it and see like how well it did. Because being a new pool doesn't necessarily mean that everything is done correctly. And Flux is complicated because you got parallel assets and everything. So wanted to see how that was. The one thing that was very clear is that it is the lowest cost pool, but that only works if you get good rewards out of it. So here's the rig that I used when mining this pool. It's my what I call rig one. And no, that's not a Rogue One. It's not a Star Wars theme. I just called it rig one because it was my first rig, because it used to be all 5700 XTs. I still haven't changed that name there. So it's got two 3070s and six 3060 Ti's. It does about 401 souls. Now, when I actually went through the calculation, the actual mining pool was saying that it was 402.6. I don't know if you guys ever look at this, but when does the pool ever report over a longer period of time an average that's higher than what your miner is saying it does? That I thought was really, really interesting. I'm just used to getting, I don't know, 5, 10% less. Now, it could have something to do with the fact that if I remember correctly, they're actually endpoint where I'm mining to, the IP address is actually in Chicago. So I've got low latency. I suppose that could be some of it. But usually when you're mining to a pool, that really doesn't have much to do with how many shares you get. So anyway, it is a prop pool. That is something to keep in mind. So in other words, if you are doing time of day mining, there's no penalty because it's proportional. So if you're doing PPLNS or PPLNT, depending on when you get the actual shares, you could end up mining for 30 minutes and then your time of day shuts off. And if you don't get a share, that 30 minutes from the last share or the last block may be for nothing. You may just mine that for absolutely nothing. But with prop, it's proportional. So it's all shares proportional from the last block to the next block. So with pools that are getting much more rapid shares, it's not as big of a deal. But when you have newer pools or lower hash rate pools, you may have longer periods of time between the blocks. So something to keep in mind. But it is one thing I do like about this pool being a proportional pool. Well, let me get into screenshots I took. When I initially did this, when I woke up in the morning on Saturday, this is what I saw. So there were 5 blocks that had happened in pretty rapid succession. So I was like, okay, well, they're there. So I got to wait for these to actually go through so that the numbers all add up and it just makes sense. So I waited another hour. So basically, my period of time that I did this on was over 79 hours. I know it seems like an odd number, but basically, I started at 12:30 at night. I woke up at 6:30 in the morning. When I looked at it, this is what I saw. So I waited for about another hour, and then all of them had taken, and they hadn't gotten another block at that point. So it worked out. So I basically just did it on 79 hours, and that worked out well. Next thing I wanted to show. So this is what the actual results were. This is me mining for a little over 3 days, 79 hours. Obviously, that last day and the first day seemed to be a little bit better than average. I'm basically was making around 2 flux a day. And but anyway, that's the 79 hours. When you add all that up, so this is the 7.03929 plus 6.96. Now, one thing to watch here is the 6.96 is 95% of the total flux earned. So they're only taking 5%. And you can see that here. If you look at any other pool that you've mined to with flux, you should be able to see this number and see what the total parallel assets earned versus the total paid. And that will give you the true reflection of how much they're taking out of the parallel asset payments. Because they should, if it was 100%, they would be equal. And nobody does that because we all know anybody that's done parallel asset claims knows that, yeah, it costs a little bit to do it. Obviously, if you're a pool, it's not going to cost you as much because you're doing it over a larger amount. So the transaction fee has a lesser effect. Just something to keep in mind. The reward scheme, you can see it says 85.5% because they are already paying out the ninth parallel asset, Matic. those are the actual results. That's what it looked like at that 79th hour mark. And then here is what I did. I went to What to Mine. And while What to Mine doesn't always have the right numbers, it has the right numbers given the input. The problem is that their input sometimes is based upon different factors, and they may think that hash rate is this, or so when you look at Flux, for instance, their bonus when you're looking at is only 70%. But 70% would be like 7 parallel assets with no fee, or 8 parallel assets with over 10% fee. So again, they're making some assumptions there. I like to think of it, especially considering we're so close to the 10th parallel asset. I'm just figuring it out 100%. Again, it doesn't really matter how you necessarily figure that. I just figured for the simplicity, that's the way I was going to do it. 100% bonus, 3.75% fee. So the way that that was figured was half a percent on the regular Flux earnings and 5% on the parallel asset. So you average those two together and you get 2.75. Where's the extra 1% come from? That comes from the miner itself at 1%. Now, it may not necessarily be 1%. I don't even know exactly what G miner is, but I just use 1% as a placeholder. Again, all of these things are the same when you look across all, if you're comparing pools, it would be all the same. It's just a matter of just showing you how I got to my numbers and how I compared it to what was on What to Mine and what their calculation was. So you can see down here, you got 3.819177 was what its average over those 3 days were. And I took this at the 79th hour. So again, yeah, you can't do 3 hours and 3 days and 7 hours, but it's close. It'd be really close to what it actually was. So now let me go to my handy dandy spreadsheet. On the first part is What to Mine. Day rewards, again, were 3.819177. And then over 79-hour rewards would be 12.57145763. Let's just call it 12.57. Okay, 12.57 flux is what it would be predicted if it was 100% luck. Okay, so that is what is predicted. Now, what did I get with Luckyminers? Well, I got just my general Flux payout. I got 7.03929. My PA rewards were 6.96, coming out to just about 14 Flux. So I actually didn't do a comparison, but how much more am I making? So I'm getting just over 10%, about 11% more in rewards by mining with Luckyminers. That's pretty good. Makes me want to mine with them if I'm going to mine Flux, that's for sure. Now, what was their luck over this period of time? Yeah, it was probably better than 100%. I don't know if it was 11% better, because the anytime a pool shows you what their current luck is, it's never over. You can't like define, oh, I want the luck over 3 days, or I want the luck over 1 day. They don't ever give you that delineation. It'd be nice if you could, but looking at it and kind of estimating it, yes, it was better than 100%, but not that much better. So that is really great in my book. And so when I looked at it that way, while I can't say it was profitable to mine Flux, it was at the point where I'm like, maybe I should leave one rig on this and be done with it. Really love the pool. They still do have a promotion going on for the next couple of weeks where they are giving away 100 Flux a week. They're giving away to 5 miners. They're giving away 20 Flux to 5 miners each week. So fairly good chance to win. Certainly better than the Red Panda giveaways. You got a better chance of winning 20 Flux than this. Anyway, but nothing against Red Panda's giveaways. I got lucky once. Anyway. And then, like I said, the other thing I wanted to mention about this was the fact that the hash rate that I did this on was 402.6, because that's what the pool was showing. So I actually did all the calculations with What to Mine on 402.6. If you're going to mine Flux, check them out. I know if I'm going to mine Flux, this is the pool I'm going to use. I'm actually right now continuing, as I just showed you, I am continuing to mine on Flux on this pool. Probably will continue for at least a little while. I haven't really had a chance to take a look at profitability, but like I said, in this particular one, when I looked at it, the profitability wasn't bad. Was I losing a little bit? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's certain things I'm trying to simplify certain things. And this is one of them. I'm starting to get to the point where I just kind of want to mine a few things that are either profitable or close to profitable and things I believe in and try that route for a little while and just kind of loosen, I don't want to say loosen up, but just kind of sit back and watch and see kind of what happens by doing it that way, as opposed to the way I have been doing it, which has been basically accumulating Bitcoin and Litecoin. And just do this a little while and, you know, get some additional bags of the coins I'm mining and see what happens.